Hi there. My name is Sarah Lynn, certified Enneagram and visibility coach that helps you get visible in your own way, understanding your superpowers, what shadows might be tripping you up, how to leverage both those shadows and your strengths to share the message, share the mission, share the product, the service, the idea with the people that you feel most inspired and motivated to share it with and help. And so I love talking about all aspects of the Enneagram. There are so many different aspects of this amazing tool. And today I just wrapped up a presentation, a workshop for a group of women to help them understand what their Enneagram type is, so that when we meet again, we can understand and look at ways to actually implement the information that we learned about. And so I thought, this might be helpful for you here to get an idea of what exactly is an Enneagram type made up of. So we're going to talk generally what a type is made up of, the anatomy of an Enneagram type, the ingredients of an Enneagram type. And then I do have a full workbook that will walk you through the exact recipe for each of the 9 Enneagram types to help you start to identify which ones most resonate with you and be able to cross off the ones that don't, so that you can continue to learn, reflect, and identify which one is that dominant one, which one is that core driver moving mainly in the driver's seat, moving you along. So there's all kinds of different pieces to the Enneagram, which is why sometimes it can feel, and I don't want to project or assume, but sometimes I've heard it feels complicated or overwhelming. And I know that I can overwhelm some people with this. And so I thought, let's just take a minute and actually really look at what an Enneagram type is made up of, like what's inside an Enneagram type. And the foundational pieces, the DNA for the type, is the core fear and core motive. And so these two things are what make the type a type. If you don't resonate with this, but you have similar behaviors, this is not your type. You might be a type 6, but look like a type 8. It doesn't matter what you look like. At the end of the day, if your core motive is that of a 6, you are a 6. And there's different ways that type gets expressed. It's like being the color, using the color purple, all different kinds of shades of purple within the purple umbrella, under the purple umbrella. But at the end of the day, it's a color of purple. You're on the purple spectrum. Same thing with whatever type you end up being. 5, you're on the 5 spectrum in some way. It's going to look different from person to person. But at the end of the day, you're going to have that similar core motive and core fear. There's a core pattern, that habit that keeps you stuck running into the same issues, the core desire. You have your wings, which are the numbers on either side of you. You have your subtype, your natural instincts, which there's 3 of those. And I actually did a podcast episode all about this, where we talk about self-preservation energy. We talked about the sexual or pioneering energy. We talked about the social or teaming energy, and how to use it to identify which one you are, and then use it to identify which products, services, offers might be most in line with that energy. So that was a fun podcast. I'll include the link here in the comments below. We also have a unconscious childhood message that each type is associated with. We have arrows, which are the 2 other numbers that our type is connected to. So 1 typically is where we go to in stress. It's called our de-integration number. We have 1 where we can really tap into the healthy qualities as we grow of that type, called our integration number. There's different levels of development within our type. We have healthy levels. There's 3 levels of health. There's 3 levels of average. And then there's 3 levels of unhealthy levels. And that's where, probably want to seek some additional help, support from a licensed therapist, more so than a coach in that situation. But so I really focus on that average and then moving into that really healthy level. And so depending on where you are on that spectrum, you could look very, very different. There's also groups that each type is a part of, various groups. So you have a group around conflict style, about your relational style, how you go about getting what you want, where you make decisions from. And so all of that also plays into how your type is expressed. And so at the end of the day, there's all kinds of different things. And that's why you can have 10 twos in a room, but those twos can all look and behave very differently, but they're going to have that core motive of wanting to be loved and wanted in the case of the two. So the 4 areas that we really focused on in this workshop today, and what I typically focus on, are the core motive, what you're running towards, that carrot that you're running towards, and then the core fear, the thing that you're running away from, the stick that you're running away from. There's also that core pattern that I mentioned, and that's the thing that's like running into the same issue, that core habit, reoccurring problem, why you keep having the same problems, why you might feel stuck. It's going to have something to do with that core pattern. And then we also have a core desire, a core message, a core longing, what we really want to hear, where we really want to be, who we really want to be. And so these are the key pieces that when you're first starting down that typing journey, when you're getting your Enneagram journey kicked off, these are really the 4 things to look at, specifically the motive and the fear, to help you identify which ones most resonate. At the end of the day, we have all 9 types inside of us. Some are going to be more present than others. They're going to be more obvious to us. We're going to probably be able to identify with, 3, 4, 5 that feel really, really true for us. And there's going to be some that just don't feel true at all, but maybe we could see it in ourselves here and there. But the key is to uncovering which one is the main driver. And so in this workbook that I have that goes along with the slides to this presentation, it's sarahlynnco.com/Enneagram types. There is a workbook that goes through the recipe. We've just talked about the ingredients, but there is a specific recipe for each of the 9 types that we will go through. And you'll be able to rate on a scale from 1 to 10 to help you start to narrow it down. There's also additional questions and resources to look at to help you figure out, okay, which one is my dominant type. And really by the time you get through with this workshop, you should have a pretty good idea, or this workbook rather, you should have a pretty good idea. I do have a mistyping guide, a type comparison guide that looks and compares every single combination on the Enneagram to help you determine, am I this one or am I this one? If you have a couple that are close. So that might be helpful too. That's over on the resources tab of my website. But I wanted to show you this just to kind of give you an idea of sometimes why the Enneagram might feel so complex, is because, yeah, we're complex human beings. We're having a complex, it's not always complicated, but it is complex human experience. So it makes sense. We have all these different things woven into our personality, to our egos, the thing that make up who we are right now, an understanding of where we came from, why we are the way that we are, and then also gives us a path for understanding who we really want to be and how to actually get there. So I appreciate you being here. If you have questions, as always, leave them in the comments below. I love to hear from you. If you have a question, more than likely somebody else has the exact same question. So we will all thank you for being brave enough to ask that question. As a reminder, my name is Sarah Lynn. I'm over at sarahlynnco.com/Enneagram types is where you're going to be able to find your typing workbook. And then if you have a pretty good idea of what your type is, there are also 9 guidebooks that deep dive into each of the 9 types. That might be a great next step for you to start learning more about yourself. So thanks so much for being here, and I can't wait to see you back here soon.